Hi, everybody. How are we doing? Technical difficulties. I'm actually make sure these are both pinned. All right. Hi. Um, Full disclosure, there's no one here, so I'm doing art with you in virtual space, which I think is rad. I'm here in my new studio. Um, Yeah, welcome. I had a friend over just then who helped me kind of put everything back in its place, or much of everything back in its place. The move went really smoothly. I'm so glad that we found a space that was comparable and even bigger than what I had before. So it's going to be awesome to grow into this space and to do more of these classes, to even have people here in the space to do classes with me. It's going to be super rad. So thank you for being here with me. It's so awesome. And yeah, I have a little bit of a headache today and I'm just feeling kind of chill, really worn out. I really wish that I could have my music, but like internet wise, I'm not sure that I can stream anything on my iPad because I'm already using hotspots. So I'm just gonna keep it at this. And yeah, hopefully you can put some music on and have something in the background while we paint together. I'm feeling watercolors. I've not restocked anything. Hopefully you've done something with the relief stuff. If not, that's okay. We can work through how to play with that anyway. This is just all the stuff that's just right on the top of my, now there's a little delay. I can see, hopefully this records okay. This is what we were talking about last week. I feel like I had more of these done. Okay, good, I do. This is what we created last week. This is oil pastels showing up as a relief. And there you go. You can see me better. Oh, here, we'll do this. Lovely noise. Lovely noise. Technical difficulties. I don't have another light on my face, so I'm a little bit darker today. But that's okay. You're just looking at my hands anyway, right? These were from last week. Oil pastels with watercolor on top. All three of these are from last week. And at the very end of last week's session, we mixed some black acrylic paint with glue, with Elmer's glue. And we dribbled it all over some watercolor paper. So I have those 4 sheets of watercolor paper. And I'm actually going to keep these from yesterday out a little bit. I might play around a little bit with some colored pencil or something on top of those. And meanwhile, I'm going to be unloading my box. I'm really excited. Next week you're going to get a recorded video on Wednesday. Yeah, I might invite you to come on Tuesday and do it live with me. We'll see what happens. Oh, I didn't fill up my spray bottle. I'll have to do that. There's my watercolor paper. Brushes. Set this over here. I think I might just get it. I might not get acrylic paints out today. If you feel like getting out acrylic paints today, go for it. I don't know. I just don't really, to me, they're a bigger cleanup and a bigger obligation. So, taking a picture. So I'm not going to get those out. So this is what we did. See, I've got regular white glue and I've got the black glue. So really I could just pour, this is almost empty because my kids have gotten into it, but I could just squeeze a little bit of this white glue into here. I have big bulk glue here in my studio, so I'm gonna go ahead and do that. But I would just squeeze some in there and just a little bit of black paint and shake it up real good. And it'll turn black, and then you can scribble, do whatever you want. I mean, you can even draw something, like draw a flower with the black glue. It'll be really cool. Maybe we'll do that at the end of this session, just to set ourselves up for next week, because that's really fun. Oh, and I did find a salt shaker instead of my little dish of salt. That's what I keep in my studio. It's not going to travel very well. So I've been thinking about travel, which is really, really, really cool to take this whole box into a travel mode. So I'm excited to share that journey along with you guys. I'm going to go ahead and get this whole thing out and let that stuff stay in the box today. All right. So first things first, speaking of travel, my studio doesn't have water down here. It's all upstairs in the living quarters of the house. So I'm going to be very makeshift with my water a lot of the time. We'll figure something out eventually, but I'm going to see how I have 4 cups of water sitting here, and I'm just going to do my best to make those stretch throughout the session. And honestly, probably throughout the day. A little water in there so I can wet my watercolor palette. Brushes up. I'm noticing something about my brushes. Has anyone else noticed these two? A little quality thoughts. These white Simmons ones, I'm getting cracks in them. Can you see that? Are yours doing that too? This is an indication of 2 things, probably more than 2 things. Blue ones seem to be fine, and that smaller one, but this bigger one has cracked. It's an indicator of 2 things. One, it's fine. The brush is fine. It's not going to hurt anything. You might notice that the chips will fall off, and you'll notice them in and amongst your stuff. You might notice it feels different in your hand. This is an indicator that I might have left my brush in the water for a little too long. And if you don't watch out, your ferrule will get loose, which can be an annoyance, and it's just, it's damaging your brush. And like I've said in the past, these are tools, and even this crappy little one that came in the kit, they'll last you a while. They really will. Where did my watercolor palette? So take good care of them. And this is just something I noticed. I was like, oh, I got a crack in that one. That tells me that I left that in the water for a little bit too long. I should have cleaned up a little bit earlier, and not let it dry out like that. So just sharing what I'm seeing. Spraying my watercolor palette really well. Again, this is all left over from the last time we painted, and I'm just keeping that there. It's kind of a preservation technique. That's color, whatever, it's valuable color. Watercolors, you use a lot of water, and we're just playing and practicing. So be it, don't stress about anything like that. I'm gonna get a piece of mixed media paper out to get started, just to loosen up a little bit, play with some color. The mixed media. I love this paper because it is nice and simple, like drawing paper. You get a lot of it, but it holds water. It holds the watercolor a little bit better than your typical drawing paper will. I'm going to be getting some paper for our trip. And instead of getting a notebook where I have to tear each piece out, I think I'm going to get a couple sheets of large paper and I'm going to spend the time to cut them into pieces before I leave. So I'll have a stack of paper that's already pulled apart. Okay. So just to warm up and play a little bit, I'm going to go ahead and keep playing with this relief concept and get out an oil pastel. If it was just, actually, I think I'm going to do black. Nope, I'm going to do green. I mean, yellow. Actually, deep breath. Let's sit down for a second, set everything down. We're ready to go. Did you guys know that a long time ago I used to be a health coach? And one of the things that I talked most about was how important our breath was. I don't practice it as much anymore, but breathing and breathing through our nose is like one of the simplest, easiest things that we can do to reset and enact our calm, our rest and restore nervous system. I call it the green zone, red zone, green zone. It's way more complicated than that, but breathing through the nose. It's like so simple, it's ridiculous. So blowing out, there's all kinds of different ways that you can blow out. Do whatever feels good for the moment. It changes all the time for me, but the key is in through the nose. So think about that and recognize when you're doing something soothing like playing with art supplies, where you're breathing. Try and keep your mouth closed. I know here I am blabbing. And of course, there's times when you have a cold or you're stuffed up or something, but do your best to recognize when you're breathing through your nose. Or even when you're worked up about something, notice that you might be breathing through your mouth and very shallow. So shut up and just start making lines. I'm pressing kind of hard to make a really nice imprint. This happens to be very squiggly. I kind of like it. The nice part about using the crayons, the oil pastels, instead of the glue is that you don't have to wait for it to dry. So I'm going to actually use my smaller brush for this exercise because I want to just kind of dive in. I think I might go ahead and go through and use every color in my palette. And I'm just going to pick, I'm actually going to spray my paper. It's not watercolor paper, so it's not going to quite do the same thing. But I'm going to spray a little bit and just pick one color at a time. And lots of water. And just fill it in, fill each spot in. Since I chose yellow. All right, let's get two over here. Interesting to see what's happening with the yellow, the purple and the yellow. We've talked about complementary colors, so it's creating a little bit of a muddy color. That's okay. Totally fine. Just like, remember when we worked with variations in the Shoebox Studio and we stopped going to our color and instead went to the water and how it got lighter and lighter? Let's play with a little bit of that. Pink got really bright. Or really dense. There's a lot of water over there. I'm adding a little bit of red to my pink, and that's just too much. So I'm going to get my paper towel. Same old paper towel I've been using. Boop. Let's pull some of that out. It's creating a cool looking texture, kind of tie-dye. Moving on, moving on. I'm gonna leave some space between, because I'm gonna kind of work my palette this way and then I'll work it back and I'll leave some spaces. I just picked up a totally different color, the complementary color to what I was playing with there. I wonder if the salt will do anything on this paper. We'll find out. You really have to hit salt when it's wet because it like sucks in the pigment. Has everybody been able to add salt to their kit yet? Just a little camper salt like this is great. My paper's drying out. It's really not doing the same thing as the watercolor paper. Oh yeah, it does. Ooh, that's cool. Oh, you see what that's doing? It's like a spider web. Very neat. You'll find, I've probably told this story already, but you'll find that there's certain colors in your palette that you don't use a lot of. When it comes down to this watercolor palette has been such a great watercolor palette. And I was drawn in the very beginning, I was very drawn to this one certain blue color and see how there's like hardly anything left of that color right there. My red and my yellow are also getting really low. So we'll talk about how to like restore those and how to, or what to do about that. Um, my, my good friend Barbara, um, is a really great sale shopper. And she loves a good deal. So we are going to figure out the best way together. We're going to figure out the best way to refill and resource all of this. I have a feeling it's going to be a tube of paint, and we'll keep a tube of paint in here and we'll just kind of keep refilling that as we use it. It'll dry with things, especially as I go to Colorado, because I know it's a lot drier there. It will dry along the way. So this is just really, I'm just taking my time, filling in each one, however feels good to me. Kind of want to see if I can get some relief going with that. If I could see any of it. And there I just painted over some salt. Ooh. Sometimes I love using the spray bottle just to see it do its magic. one of the best parts about this new studio is this thing right here, because it's so quiet in here. You can probably hear it cranking. Air conditioning. Like 100 degrees outside. Southwest Florida. The mountains are calling my name. And I'm excited. You guys are excited to see how this travels. I think it's going to be really cool to prove that this is like as mobile and condensed as it is. Thanks for being along on the ride of figuring that out with me. This part about trying something new right now. And I have no idea how it's going to turn out. Is that oh, I said I was going to use this paint too. Some special mixed colors. Is that it's a constant state of newness. This is like the whole planet is being asked to do something different, something new. And here we are, right? Thanks for coming along and being ready to like, I don't know, explore this. All right, I'm enjoying this. I hope you are as well if you've chosen to do it along with me. You can do the same exercise. That was kind of boring. With watercolor paper, and you might get more effect. I think I might let this breathe for a moment. I'll maybe come back in a little bit. And I'll get all my colors going here. So there is plumbing down here. I feel like you can probably hear everything just because I don't have that music on. I'm going to see if the landlord will let me put a sink in. And then it'll be so nice and easy to host workshops and creative sessions right here in my studio. Oh, it'll be so great. And for those of you that don't live locally, you'll have a good reason to come visit Southwest Florida. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Come on, family. Yeah, and start doing those parties here in house. This is exactly what I needed. Moving is stressful. And this is the opposite of stressful. I love the way that with watercolor, if you let it dry, holy, this is getting kind of brown. But you know what? I actually kind of think I want to pause on it. And when I come back, I can do a bunch more greens and blues. All right, I'm going to pause on that. I'm going to do the same exercise on this. This time, I'm going to spray. So now I'm working on watercolor paper. Last week, I mixed black acrylic ink with Elmer's glue. I mixed black acrylic ink with Elmer's glue. I did it in a cup And I eventually poured it into here. But even from the cup, you can just drizzle it. Doesn't have to be 50-50, just whatever you want. It tints it. Elmer's glue, it turns out, Elmer's glue is matte medium. So we have the gloss medium in our kit, the Liquitex medium, and this is just a cheaper version of that. That's basically what Elmer's glue is. So since we are totally in the experimental phase of being creative, it's a really cool resource to know that that glue is doing pretty much exactly what you can pay expensive money for when you're playing around. So super fun to learn that. And then, which actually I did know, but I hadn't really thought about it. And I started following this really fun woman on Instagram. I'll have to remember her name one of these days. Who's who talks a lot about doing this. I'm like, oh, that's so smart. And what a fun way to just kind of play, right? I mean, so I was feeling like I was using all my warm colors on that other paper, and I wanted to get into some of the blues. See the delay. I am taking care to actually not use my favorite color. Um, just in case you were wondering, I'm purposely avoiding it because I want to make sure that I can savor it, and I just want to make sure that I have enough. If I don't get my paints before we leave, which I will, but um, we'll get that order taken care of this week for sure. Especially because I'm going to start opening this up to more people. I hadn't told you guys this, but there's going to be more people invited in here. So other people may be listening to the replay besides just us that have done the Shoebox Studio together, the first round. As I've been moving into this new studio, I've just been really, really invigorated and excited about this idea that we're going to save the world by being creative. Um, it still sounds silly coming out of my mouth, but I believe this with my whole entire heart. And I think that we are doing a lot more bigger work than we realize that we're doing right now. And it's work for humanity, and it's good stuff. I'm glad we're doing it. So keep on keeping on, fellow creatives. Thank you for being here, for doing this mighty, mighty, amazing work. And that's what I love so much about the fact that this is good for all ages um, and all stages of life. We're going to get my kids in here and start playing with us. Family affair. Good stuff. Oh, that kind of looks like Florida all of a sudden. Maybe when we come back with pen and ink, I'll make it look like Florida. This kind of looks like a seahorse. I got some fun stuff going on here. I would love to use. I might give in. I'm going to give in very lightly. Sometimes I just really, that dark. Oh, it's so faded. Dark phthalo blue. PTHALO. It's definitely one of my favorites. That should be saved to be yellow. Okay, I think I've kind of got enough going on here. And I'm ready to get out some colored pencils and work on maybe since I've got the blues going, this is nice and dry. I think I'll do some more blues over on that one real quick. Might be good timing to get the yellow over here as well. Here, just do the yellow right now. Yellow is one of those colors. I'm not super satisfied by the way this one is right next to the green, but it's going to be next to something no matter what. Looks like a moon. All right. All right. Leave that one as is. And move on to a little bit more color on this piece of mixed media paper. And then I'm going to put my watercolors away and do spray. I'm going to put my watercolors away and do some work with my dry stuff on top of some things that I did last week. So if you don't have anything from last week, it's no big deal. If you have anything around that you've not finished or that it's maybe dry from working on in the past, that you just don't even know what it is. Maybe it's something we've done together. Maybe it's just something you've done on your own. Try and get something out that's dry. That would be after you finish. If you're playing along with me after you finish putting some more into this. Again, sorry for the silence. It's just being in the zone. And next time there will be, you know what, I think next week I'm gonna record on Tuesday instead of Wednesday. Just a heads up if you watch this week and want to plan for next week. We'll be flying all day Wednesday. And even though we have a nice long layover in Houston, I'm not exactly interested in whipping out my art supplies in the airport. Although, catch me next year. Maybe we'll be doing that. Why not? 5-hour layover. Hey, I may change my mind. This hotspot thing, if this works. We just might have a little kids session in the airport. Um, we shall see. That seems like a lot. But I don't know what else we're gonna do in the airport. We have like a 4.5 hour layover right about this time. Watercolors. We never really talked much about using watercolors to really fill in a space like I just did there. I'm always diluting them, I feel like, but you really can get some very vibrant color um, by just straight painting and filling in your space. Right there. And not so much translucence. I love translucence. Getting these pretty layers. Hmm. Whoa. And the really nice thing about watercolors, especially with your small little kit like this, um, there's a big delay there. Sorry about that. The cool thing about watercolors is their versatility and but their ability to go out into the wilderness, out. You can take them down the street, you can take them to the park, you can take them, um, you can really take watercolors anywhere. All you need is water. And it's a beautiful way to make a lot of color and be very satisfied. I mean, and if all you need is water, and then like you don't even need to, if you're going to a lake or a river or you know, if anywhere, a fountain or a water fountain, and just have a cup with you or even a water bottle, um, and you can pour water in these sections right here. You can cut the top off of a water bottle if you need to. Open up a little a juice box even. Um, any kind of a little container. I have a small glass jar that I will find and I'll bring with me to keep in my kit. Um, yeah, you can use very random water. It's all you need. So even this brush that fits right in here, you know, think about it. You can take this kit, these oil pastels, the watercolor palette, and just like 4 sheets of paper out on a hike and just play around. Use a little bit of your drinking water. Um, it can be really, really fun to play around with watercolors in the wilderness. Right. Oops. I'm gonna go ahead and get all of these filled in. What color haven't I used? I might know I used this one. And some blue. I want some darkness down in that corner. Into my cherished. Oh, did I call it phthalo? I think it's Prussian. You might have to get both just to see. All right, and then all right, so now this one's all filled in. Let's go find something from last week. And I want to practice a little bit of some hash mark making. So I've got this one that we did today. This one was started last week. You know what this one needs? Needs a little pop of some pink, like some hot pink somewhere. I don't know if I'm going to be able to achieve. Okay, so that was kind of cool. I sprayed first, and then I am using my paper towel to just kind of control where that drip went. And wherever that paper is kind of re-wetted, then the pink is gonna eventually seep into. This still looks like a little seahorse to me, so rolling with it. See how I'm tilting my paper to kind of bring in some of that pink, let it fall down. All right, that's gonna dry really cool. Okay. Last week, we made more of these. Feel free to make as many of those as you want and just keep doing them. So much fun. This is what we did last week. And I was kind of thinking, I think first for today, maybe just that's all for today. I'm gonna get my colored pencils out. I'm gonna go ahead and put my watercolor, well, I'm gonna set them aside. As you saw before, I'm gonna let this dry before I close it up. Obviously, if you're in the wilderness or whatever, you can't wait till it's dry maybe, but and in that case, you might consider wiping these clean while it's wet, because otherwise these colors are definitely going to drip and muddy all of your stuff right here. So if I was in the wilderness and I had to go right now, I would be dabbing these up with my trusty paper towel, and then I would be closing it. I'd be sticking this guy in there and closing it and taking it away in my pack. Because I'm not in the wilderness and I'm in my new studio, I have the time and the space to just set this aside and let it dry before I close it. So then I can reuse those colors again. So those were the colors also that I had put here. So let me show you something real quick if I wanted to, since those colors are there. I'm going to take my brush, the same brush that I've been using, just my small round. And I'm going to go ahead and do another wash on this just to see what happens. So I haven't touched this paper with anything. This is straight. I must have dusted it because I had some salt right there. So I must have dusted the salt off. And this is just that same green wash that was left over from last week. And I'm just going to take another layer on just this front one, because this front one, I'm going to pick up the green with every stroke, and I'm going to try and touch the tip of my brush to my last stroke with each one. You see how I'm doing that? And so this is just giving it a little bit more of a slope and a little bit of more darkness, one more layer of darkness. There are people that will spend days and days and days on watercolors because they're working up that darkness that they get, and it's beautiful. It's not typically, I don't have the patience typically to do that, but I'm loving playing with this technique and with the idea of like adding more and more and more. So I really like what was happening there. If you can see that, there's like a little swooping up where it's a little bit dark at the bottom. I really like that. So I'm picking up even some of this purple. It's creating kind of almost a deep shadowness bringing up. Not really caring right now if this is realistic or not. I'm just kind of putting some color in. Go ahead and keep going with this. And do another layer here with that dark. And even one here. Okay. I've added a couple little, just giving it a little bit more life, little layering here. You see that? Okay. Just to use a little bit of what was there, since it was the same colors as before. And then what I want to get out is my colored pencils. I thought that this would be completely dry. It's actually drying really quickly. I wasn't using a whole lot of we can do two different things. I shouldn't have put all that back in because I'm going to get that black marker out first. Actually, we're just going to start with this one today. Colored pencils. So I'm going to spend a little time here. Excuse me. Thinking about what's here in this foreground. I know that this is a river, so it's going to have a little blue to it. And I'm just going to kind of put in, remember how we talked about water is always trying to go horizontal. It's always trying to find level ground. So one of the ways to make water look realistic is to work with your horizon line. I know this is a mountain scene, so there's not really like a flat horizon line like there would be in the beach scene. But this is one of the ways that you can really make water look natural. And of course, there's going to be some big boulders in the stream. Just making just bumps. See how the colored pencils go really nicely right on top. I'm going to use a different color, brown, because we've got so many cool browns. Nature has so much color out there. Our colored pencils, they don't really have a gray, so we're just sticking with this gray or dark brown and all these browns here. And also over on that riverbed is going to be some grasses, and these can probably be some bushy trees. All my greens. There's some grasses and trees. That green is not showing up as much on top of there. That's okay. Just noting what I'm seeing, what I'm noticing. Now this foreground, this to me is like a pasture. So this is definitely going to have a lot of this grass in the foreground, like a big hay pasture before it's cut. Different color greens, and definitely don't forget to put some browns in there. To get some shadow, I like to do a little blue before you get too far with it. And like little shorter tits because that shadow, that underlayer of shadow, it's pretty much down at the base, and then you're going to have a lot of color on the top. So just kind of keeping a little getting some over here too. See how we're just kind of adding to the details and to the scene. It worked before. Sure, it worked before. Put some shadow in under here. These big trees coming up. These, the Gunnison Valley is what this is from memory. And these are big cottonwoods that come under here and line the riverbeds and the valley beds, or the river, where the rivers meet the valleys. And if I was feeling adventurous, I'm not really feeling it right now, but we can always put some flowers in here. We can bring in some more detail here. Up in this area, I'm curious what, if I can bring a little more shape to these clouds. If I want to. And even because they're thunderclouds, and we don't have a gray in here, but what we have is black, and we have black that can be, I'm not pressing very hard now. Okay, so I'm pressing very lightly to get this gray color. You know, those thunder boomers coming over the mountainside. I may have wished that I had done a little of this with like I think it just takes more of a shading instead of a scribble. I may have wished I had done this with a little bit more of a charcoal, and so then I could have smudged it a little bit more, maybe. I can always go over it with charcoal if I want to get that smudged effect. I think I've found that instead of using it on the tip and scribbling the way I tend to do, I'm now just kind of using it on the side, and I'm using more of a shading motion to get that nice smooth looking, like, okay, these are clouds, the little cotton candy, but with a little threat to them. A little thickness. Maybe I can play with just a little bit of yellow just to play with it. Okay, so my yellow is getting thin. Should we go over real quick how to sharpen this? And then I think we might call it a day for our creative session. Next week on one of these dry pieces, I'd like to go over some like patterning and some etching and some like hash mark making and how to make kind of something out of nothing with some of these doodles that we've been doing. So definitely we'll play with this one again and see what comes out of it once it dries. Just to look now, you can see the salt, the spots that I have put salt. You can see how they're drying there. This is going to be neat to play with. Both of those little scatterings. Even this one from last week, this was the same with oil pastels, but with a white instead of the yellow. We might do some hash mark making in these. Where is my X-Acto knife, I wonder? There's one right here in the studio. That doesn't look like the one you have, but that's okay. How to sharpen your colored pencils if you need to do that. You've missed it in the past. We're going to use our X-Acto knives because that preserves as much of this pigment as we can. If we use our pencil sharpener, you're welcome to, but if you use your pencil sharpener, you're going to chew up more of your lead than you realize, and your pencils will disappear faster. So if with parental supervision, if you're a child, but with adults, it's a push with your with the thumb. Do you see how, for me, it's my left thumb and my hand is holding my right, but you can certainly do it left-handed. And with my right hand, I'm doing more of a spin. I know we have a little delay here, so hopefully you can see. So I'm digging in and then I do a little spin. And you go slow at first because you don't want to nosh into your lead and break it that way. But you see how it's a little spin? There we go. Try not to get, I'm digging into my pigment a little bit. Your pencils will start looking funny, but I promise you, especially if you like working with colored pencils, these will last a lot longer if you sharpen your pencils this way. You can also sharpen your lead pencils this way, but lead pencils, lead is not as soft as your colored pencil. So, okay, it looks a little funny. But, and I'm gonna make just a little, of course, do it right on top of my drawing. I'm just gonna bring in a little sun edge for today on the tip of everything. A little sun-kissed. I'm bringing in the sun from that side. So my sun was coming this way. That also helps to know that my shadows now go that way. All right, a little extra. Ooh, it's pulling off the watercolor off of that. That's kind of neat the way I did that. All right, friends, this has been fun. Next week, same process, just getting this out, seeing what we create. I like getting things even closer and closer to finished products. Isn't that interesting how that, like, I'm gonna do some of this yellow in here. That just livens up this painting. It was cool. It's just a mountain range. It's not like it wasn't pretty and an accomplishment to create just the mountain range out of your head. But it's even cooler now, you know, like we've kind of created something. This is way more worthy of a frame than it was before. So this was, try to scrape that clean off here. All right. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for being here. I hope all is well in your world. And yeah, I look forward to taking this show on the road and being creative with you guys as a consistent thing in our life. Yeah, I'm seeing one more thing. I'm going to leave and I'm going to do a little bit of white, maybe just around these rocks. And again, yeah, that's a little bit. Oh, the river turned out really cute. All right. Thank you guys for being here. Have a wonderful rest of your day. And we'll see you next time.